Hello and welcome to Opt to Thrive, episode 57, the Midlife Skin Series, part 1, Wrinkles, Red Light, and Collagen, what's worth your money?
Welcome to Opt to Thrive, your go-to podcast for women's wellness in midlife, designed to educate, support, and inspire you to live your very best life. And now your host, Dr. Karina Sims.
Hello, coming to you today from the not-so-sunny sunroom. Not my favorite time of the year. I'm sure that you have probably picked that. A little bit of sunshine out there today, but it is so cold and about half of the leaves are off of the trees now. I just cannot seem to get my feet warm enough. We got the fire crackling inside, and so when I'm done today, I will go sit by the fire with a cuppa and warm my feet. There are some beautiful colors out there though. Still have a few roses on the rose vine and a few little rosemary flowers as well on the rosemary, and the geraniums seem to always be happy. But we are fully amongst it. Another month and we will finally have the longest day of the year, and then from there it's working our way back out towards warmer weather. Today's episode has been inspired by some questions that I've been getting a lot of recently. It tends to kind of go in and out of flavor, and that's about collagen. So I thought it was probably time to do a little deep dive into the research, and I haven't done one of these deep dives in a while because I've been doing a lot more interviewing lately, which has been really fun, and I have some more great ones coming up that I'm so excited about. But it's also now nice just to get back to doing some researching, exploring a few of those rabbit holes that I love so much, adding to my knowledge base as I add to yours. So when we talk about collagen in particular, there are a few reasons people may think about taking it. Maybe it's a collagen protein powder. Maybe you're wondering if this protein powder is good to use to provide your body with the protein it needs to build those beautiful muscles that we all should be building in midlife. Or maybe you're wondering if using some collagen might help some joint pains. Maybe you've got osteoarthritis and you've heard that maybe it can help with that. But probably one of the biggest ones I think I get asked about is for collagen's possible effects on our skin, in particular anti-aging effects. So today, I'm going to answer all of those questions for you. Whether it's muscles, joints, or skin, you're going to walk away today knowing what the latest research is telling us so you can make an informed decision of your own. But today I'm also going to focus in on skin, and in particular our aging skin. There are so many products and devices out there advertising their benefits for aging skin, and many of them are ridiculously expensive. So we want to know before we buy, right? Which ones actually work? Which ones are actually worth the money? So today's going to be the start of a multi-episode series on skin. Initially, I thought that I would just do one big episode, but as I started visiting all the little rabbit holes, the project just got bigger and bigger. So I'm going to break it down into smaller, doable for me and digestible for you episodes. Today, we're going to start with answering the collagen questions and then going head first into red light therapy. I'm going to tell you what I found, what it is, what it's meant to do, and whether there is any evidence that it actually does work. In the next episode, I'll dive into skin cream ingredients, again, what they are, what you're hearing out there, and what there really is evidence for. So to get us started, I want to kind of quickly look at the mechanisms of skin aging. These things are going to be important to understand as we go through the various treatment options and how they do or do not work. So we need a bit of background. Now, collagen and elastin are two of the main structural proteins that give our skin its strength, shape, and resilience. You can think of collagen as the skin's kind of scaffolding or support framework. It gives us firmness, thickness, and structure, and it helps keep our skin smooth and strong. Elastin is what gives our skin its stretch and recoil. Elastin, like elastic, allows the skin to bounce back after movement or expression. When we're younger, these proteins are abundant and well organized, and they keep our skin firm, plump, and elastic. But as we age, collagen and elastin gradually break down and are produced more slowly, and this causes the skin's architecture to weaken, create wrinkles, sagging, thinning, and loss of elasticity. We also start producing less oils and natural moisturizers that also causes dryness. Our dead skin cells don't shed as quickly, and the turnover of new skin cells decrease. The skin becomes thinner, it provides less support to blood vessels, and these changes usually begin in our mid-20s, but the signs often don't show up for some years to come. Now, all the things that I've talked about so far are considered factors of intrinsic aging, the things that are happening naturally as part of the aging process in our genetics. But then we have extrinsic factors which affect our skin as well, as I'm sure we are all aware. UV radiation from the sun is the main one. Again, I think we're all aware of that. Then things like smoking, environmental pollution, gravity pulling down on everything. Damn that gravity. A higher fat diet, high carbohydrate and sugar intake, and alcohol, stress, repetitive facial movements, poor sleep, and one I hadn't thought of, sleeping in the same position every night, smushing your face into your pillow, apparently can cause some wrinkles. Interesting. So then, what can we do to help slow down or reverse or prevent further aging of our skin? So we've talked about how the collagen in our skin is a part of that, and we've also kind of raised some questions about collagen. So let's start there. What is it and where does it come from? As I just said, collagen's a protein, and in fact, the most abundant protein found in mammals. It's the main component not only found in skin, but also in bone, cartilage, tendons, and ligaments. And to get a form of collagen we can take as a supplement, collagen is taken from the skin, bones, and connective tissues of animals, in particular cattle, pigs, chickens, and fish. Then it's put through various processes, including purification. It's dried so it can then be put into powders and capsules and tablets. It sounds like I am in an aviary right now. There are so many birds outside the sunroom today. I don't know what is going on out there. Sorry, a little bit distracting. So let's go back and start with the evidence around collagen's benefits, or not, in muscle building in particular. Can we rely on collagen protein powder to help us build muscle? The short answer is no. But to explain this, and when the answer might be yes, we need to revisit amino acids. Now remember, amino acids are what makes up proteins, and proteins have a lot of important functions in our bodies. Of course, we need them to build our muscles, but we also need them to repair muscles and organs and tissues. We need them and the amino acids that make them up to make enzymes, hormones, and neurotransmitters. They help support immunity, they help us heal wounds, maintain our skin, hair, and nails, and also help us maintain fluid balance in our bodies. Now, there are amino acids that our bodies can make, and there are amino acids that our bodies cannot make. The ones our bodies can't make are called essential amino acids, and these are the ones we have to get from our diet. There are 9 of them. A complete protein is a protein that has all 9 of these essential amino acids. Animal-based foods like eggs, milk, meat, poultry, and fish are complete proteins. But there are also some complete plant-based proteins like soy, quinoa, buckwheat, and hemp seeds. Collagen, however, is not a complete protein. It is missing a few of the essential amino acids that are really important for building muscle. So it wouldn't be my first choice in helping me hit my protein targets. Now, there are some protein powders that are blended so that you can get a complete protein. The collagen can be blended with a whey protein, for instance, so you get the complete protein and some collagen. So that may be an option if you decide you want to have some collagen for other reasons other than for muscle building, because as we just said, it's not the best choice there. But maybe you decide you still want some collagen for other reasons, which leads me to our second question. Will collagen help with joints, joint pain, joint repair? Does it help with osteoarthritis in particular? Well, some studies have shown benefit for pain and function, but some have not. So the results have been pretty inconsistent. The studies that did show a positive benefit were either poor quality or sponsored by someone with a vested interest. So there have been some questions about bias. So really, we don't know for sure, but there certainly isn't any overwhelming evidence that it is useful. And now for the question that brings us back to our main topic for today. Will it help my skin? Is it really anti-aging? Well, it makes sense, doesn't it, that if our skin is aging because of a loss of collagen, then why can't we just put more back in? But unfortunately, there are no high-quality studies that show significant effects on skin hydration, elasticity, or wrinkle reduction. The studies that have shown a benefit are, once again, sponsored studies, and we all know how pricey supplements can be, so that has to make you think twice. We also don't really know if it does work, how much do we need to take to get a benefit? So the bottom line for collagen is skip it if you're looking for proteins that are going to help you build muscle, and beware that it may not help if you're using it for joints or skin, but there doesn't appear to be any harm in using it. Okay, so now I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about red light therapy. You may have seen people wearing those glowing red masks on TV or on social media. They look like something out of a horror movie, like a new age Jason. Remember Jason? So what is red light therapy exactly? What does it do and how does it work? So light therapy itself actually has a really long history. Thousands of years ago in Egypt, India, and China, sunlight was used to treat some skin conditions. And ladies, here is where I went down my first big rabbit hole. I found this so interesting. There is still such a thing called heliotherapy. For your next trivia night, heliotherapy is using natural sunlight to treat certain skin conditions. It is actually considered a form of phototherapy. It is also called climate therapy. Now here in Australia, we tend to rely on sun exposure to keep up our vitamin D levels, as opposed to many of our North American friends who rely on supplementation either through fortified foods or actual supplements. It's the short wavelength UVB rays that we have an abundance of here in Australia, being so close to the equator, along with longer wavelength UVA rays that help with vitamin D production, but they can also help us produce other chemicals that can protect skin cells. Heliotherapy has been used to help treat psoriasis, atopic dermatitis or eczema, and vitiligo. But of course, we have to be very cautious, especially of our Australian sun, because the trade-off, as we know, for all that beautiful vitamin D is the increased risk of skin cancers. And apparently, it rarely completely clears psoriasis, and in a few people, in fact, it could actually make it worse. And the same goes with the eczema. So here in Australia, I won't be advocating for heliotherapy unless it is, of course, recommended by your dermatologist, and then they will, of course, guide you to exactly how much you should have and when. But if you live in the Dead Sea Basin, apparently, traditionally, the Dead Sea has been used as a prime location for heliotherapy, particularly for people with psoriasis. Now, I've never been there, but I have read that the Dead Sea has an ideal climate to be outdoors. It has moderate to high temperatures, low humidity, has a large number of sunny, cloudless days, and a low annual rainfall. Sounds awesome to me. And because of its beautiful climate, heliotherapy can be done for at least 8 months out of the year. So what makes the Dead Sea so special in terms of heliotherapy? I hear you asking. I know I was fascinated. Because of its location, the sea is about 400 meters below sea level, and because of this, it has a higher concentration of UVA to UVB rays than you actually find at sea level. And this means you can have longer exposure without getting sunburned. But of course, it isn't completely risk-free. There's still a risk of skin cancers developing later in life. Most, from what I read, sounds like non-melanoma skin cancers, especially with prolonged or repeated exposures. But if you're heading to the Dead Sea and have any skin conditions, it might be worth mentioning it to your dermatologist. Apparently, there are written protocols that can be used to guide you. Very interesting. Okay, so back to the red light therapy, which is technically called photobiomodulation. Say that 3 times fast. But it also has gone by many other names. In fact, there are more than 60 other names in the scientific literature. Low-level laser therapy is one of the most common ones, and that may be something that you've heard it referenced to before. Red light therapy uses LED technology. LED, you may know, stands for light-emitting diodes. This type of light is a bit different than a laser, which, by the way, I am sure I must have already known this once, but it was probably buried in my traumatic memories of physics. And when I read it, I was like, oh. But laser is actually an acronym standing for Light Amplification by Stimulated Emission of Radiation. See the things you learn on Opt to Thrive. Anyway, the reason I bring this up is because that other name I mentioned for red light therapy, low-level laser therapy, can be a little misleading. An LED and a laser both produce light, but an LED emits light that is scattered and less focused, while a laser produces a highly concentrated, precise beam where the light waves all travel together. LEDs are generally gentler and used for broad illumination or therapies like red light treatment, where lasers are more powerful energy that are more targeted and can cut, heat, or precisely treat tissue such as in surgery, hair removal, tattoo removal, or skin resurfacing. LED light has a specific wavelength with no harmful UV rays or infrared rays and is considered low energy, so there is less risk of damaging skin tissue or eyes, which is one of the questions that I had. And this low risk safety profile is why we can access them for home use. It's still recommended that you don't look right into the light and that you fit the mask well so eye exposure is avoided. Now, some dermatologists offer more types of phototherapies, including photobiomodulation, red light therapy, to treat acne, signs of aging like wrinkles, hair loss, and other conditions. But the technologies that dermatologists use are more powerful than the red light that we're going to get in our home devices. Now, the mechanism behind the photobiomodulation is that the light penetrates the skin and stimulates fibroblast activation. Fibroblasts are cells that produce elastin and collagen, those 2 key components of youthful skin that we talked about before. So, the big question, do they actually work? It does appear there is some evidence that they do work to a degree. In the research that I did, I found that they can cause modest but measurable improvements in skin aging, particularly for fine lines, wrinkles, skin texture, and collagen production. It's not a quick fix though. It can take several weeks to start to notice a difference. In one study that I read, they didn't really see results until 8 weeks, and that was a study done on crow's feet. But the general consensus is somewhere between 4 and 16 weeks with consistent use, usually 2 to 3 times a week. Treatments are generally pretty short, up to about 20 minutes or so, depending on the device. The results are gradual, not overly dramatic, especially for those with more signs of aging, more sagging, and deeper lines. But even in these people, there could be some improvement in skin texture, tone, and some of those superficial lines. It appears that it's generally well tolerated. There may be some redness, dryness, maybe some peeling or stinging, but it's considered to be generally safe. There are some conservative warnings, again, around those eyes that I mentioned before, in particular for those who have diabetic retinopathy or macular degeneration, might be worth running it past your ophthalmologist. For those who have dark skin, there is more risk of getting pigment issues, and it's best to always follow the manufacturer's instructions. More is not always better, and this is definitely one of those times. There were some warnings in the reading that I did that using it more than recommended can actually create the opposite effects, might even age your skin more. Now, these devices are considered medical devices, and in Australia, that means they should be registered with the TGA. If a company wants to claim their device can treat acne, stimulate collagen, reduce wrinkles, or provide other therapeutic benefits, it needs to be included on the Australian Register of Therapeutic Goods as a medical device. That doesn't necessarily mean the TGA has personally tested every device, but it does mean the manufacturer has entered a regulatory framework and must meet certain safety, quality, and compliance standards. Now, I did a little internet search just to see kind of what comes up when you do a search, and I could see that there are a lot of masks for sale that I think have snuck in under the beauty category and are not registered with the TGA, or at least not advertised. And I think that they would advertise if they were, because that seems to be a selling point with the people who have registered with the TGA. And it looks like the cost of these devices really range somewhere between, I think, 600 something Australian dollars to about $1,500. And also, just another note about how long the effects last. We don't really know. The studies are not long-term studies, so we don't really know if you do get a good effect, how long it's going to last. It is theorized that you probably need to continue to do some maintenance therapy with the mask to keep the benefits that you get if you do get those benefits. And a bit of a side note, and interestingly, anti-aging is not the only area red light therapy is thought to be useful. In fact, the most evidence for its use is in hair regrowth, and there are special helmets made for this. So there you go. If you have a husband who's lost or losing his hair, might be something he may consider. Who knows? I hope that you've enjoyed that. I certainly enjoyed getting back into some of the research, and it looks like this one's going to be probably about the perfect length for digestion, and absorbing some of those beautiful little trivia night facts. I always love those. As I said, I've got some really fun interviews coming up. I'm going to keep those a surprise, but they're international guests. And a couple of them you're probably going to recognize, pretty big in the social media space, in menopause and ADHD, and in getting pretty freaking fit as an older person. So really excited to share those, but we'll be coming back to you with some more skincare research, in particular for some things that you have no doubt heard are good for your skin and are in some very expensive creams and serums and etc., etc. So I am going to get that information recorded and into a podcast and out to you very soon. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. Certainly is continuing to grow, and I'm just so grateful for all of you who have rated and reviewed and provided feedback and sent me emails. I really love the interaction, so keep it coming. And again, if you can think of something that you would find interesting for me to cover, I would love that as well. Love suggestions. I hope you all have an amazing week, and until then, I hope you opt to thrive. Hey, before you go, if you're a midlife woman who wants to feel better in your body, whether that means improving your health, building strength and confidence, or working towards weight change in a kinder, more sustainable way, I have created something especially for you to support you. It's called the Midlife Health and Body Reset Kickstart Guide, and it's a free 7-day foundations guide to help you understand what's going on in your body in midlife and what actually makes a difference from here. You can download it using the link in the show notes. And if you're ready to take that work to the next step and you would like some personalized support to make it work, I run a 12-week midlife reset program where we work together on body recomposition, so losing body fat while regaining muscle, the absolute best thing we can be doing in midlife to combat midlife metabolic convergence. You get a custom strength training program from an exercise physiologist, weekly coaching with me, personalized nutrition guidance, and accountability to help you actually follow through. If that sounds like what you need, head on over to optothrive.com to find out more about the program and maybe even book a call with me to ask me any questions that you have, see if we're a good fit, and see if this program's for you.
The OptoThrive podcast is designed for information purposes only and is not engaged in the giving of medical advice. The information provided on the podcast should not be used for diagnosing or treating a health problem or disease. In no way should the information provided by OptoThrive be considered medical advice, and at all times the advice of a medical professional should supersede recommendations from OptoThrive. If you have or suspect you may have a health problem, you should consult your healthcare provider. The views expressed in this podcast are purely that of Dr. Sims and do not in any way reflect those of the institutions she contracts with medical services to.
Thank you for listening to OptoThrive. If you've enjoyed listening, please rate and share the podcast. You can visit our website at optothrive.com and leave a comment for any subjects you would like to hear more about.